All right, episode 7 of the Avetts and Beyond, and my guest this week is none other than artist extraordinaire and IT guy to the stars. Can I say that? Jon Crow is here.
No,
You're not,
no, I faked the IT job part.
and
Hopefully, none of my coworkers see this.
it is funny because I didn't get it on video, but it did take about 3 minutes for you to log on to the Zoom call.
Was it three, maybe two and a half? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I guess I exaggerate a little bit, but you're like, yeah, nice. I'm an IT guy and I can't even get on a Zoom call.
Yeah,
Uh,
yep.
had to throw that out there. That's
I
pretty
knew I'd
funny.
have trouble just because of that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we talked about it before too, and I kind of jinxed the whole situation. But Jon, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you joining me here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Happy to
So
be here.
yeah, I really appreciate it. So you're an artist, and you paint, obviously, and everyone that's an Avett Brothers fan knows your work. But uh, when did you discover that you could paint the way you can? How old were you?
Honestly, I didn't start painting until maybe early 20s, mid 20s.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Really?
well, I mean, I was into art like when I was a kid in grade school. Like I drew stuff a lot.
Yeah.
I had the grade school art class with the really nice teacher that I think I drew a Spider-Man picture. That's one of the things I remember drawing as like a fifth grader. And then I got more serious about it in high school. I took, I think, three drawing classes and then three ceramics classes.
So
And
no, go on.
I don't think I ever painted until maybe I was out of college. I mostly used pencil, lead, and charcoal when I was in high school.
I mean, that's a big difference going from drawing to painting. How did you find that transition?
I think I just get bored with stuff, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to try something different. So honestly, I mean, I've gone to many different things. Just, I mean, over the Christmas break we just had, I had a couple weeks off of work, real work, and we bought some watercolor paints, and the kids and I and Betsy started making bookmarks just because, I guess, want to try something new. So
I saw that.
tried
So
to tried to paint watercolor pictures on pieces of paper. So
how big were those bookmarks? Because I saw you post them online. I didn't
they're
see the size of them.
like 2 by 6, two
So
inches by 6 inches, so
so you
pretty
did the
small.
actual painting right on them though, right?
Yeah, yep.
Obviously, they're not prints or anything like that.
No, yeah.
So that's cool. So the kids they paint with you a lot?
They do a little bit, yeah.
Are
They
they are
like to
they any
draw.
good?
They're decent, yeah.
Well,
Yep.
you,
They'll probably
you
take over for me someday.
you can't say otherwise. That would be bad if you
All
said,
right.
"Nah, man, they're terrible." That would just be
Control it. They might
mean.
watch this, yeah.
Yeah, Dad, what are you doing? You can't say that.
Yep.
But that's really cool. I can't
Yeah.
believe you didn't start painting until your 20s. And I mean, the paintings you do are amazing. They're really
Appreciate
amazing.
that, man. Thank you.
I mean, obviously, you're an artistic guy if you've drawn your whole life and stuff, but how hard was it to transition to painting to figure out what you were doing?
Um, it was a process, but just I mean, you try stuff, and if it doesn't work, you scrap it, and then you just try new stuff. And with the paintings, I've always like since I did my first one, I've always wanted to get kind of that the colorful, kind of trippy background for like music paintings. I never have been able to do that with a brush. So what I
Okay.
started doing, I saw somebody on Facebook, people doing those paint pours, and I'm like, they throw tons of colors together and they mix in like a flowing agent that makes the paint kind of move all over the canvas.
Sure. Yeah, I've seen that.
There's like a little bit of oil into each of the colors of paint. So, once you throw it on the canvas, that oil kind of bubbles up and pops and the colors just kind of do crazy stuff. So I've always been super intrigued on like how can I get that colorful, just kind of crazy background in some of these paintings. And I saw that on Facebook and it's like I'm gonna try that. I reached out to a couple people and they kind of showed me the ropes, told me how to do it. And after that, I'm like, these are the backgrounds I've always wanted to get on some of my like music paintings. So maybe I
Not
can try that and see if it works out and I can paint like the image of the person
and
like
that
on that
that's
floor.
kind of like your trademark, right?
That's yeah. I mean, that's what I try to put in all my backgrounds. I don't really like to go away from it, just because I think it turns out so cool
No, I'm
when you
looking at
draw
the
them.
paintings behind you now. For the people not obviously
Yeah,
listening, they can't tell, but the Dave Matthews painting behind you there doesn't have a crazy background. That's kind of
that's
like
not the
just
paint pour. Yeah, so that's with the brush, and I went back and like flicked white paint on it to try to make it kind of the blues blend in.
Okay.
So that was, I think I painted that like in 2005 ish. So that was probably one
Wow.
of my first few canvas paintings I tried.
That's one of your first ones, and it's that good. That's crazy.
I think maybe my third one. I think if I
But what
remember
was
right.
the first one you ever did?
I don't even know if I can remember that, Todd. Honestly, this
Oh,
is the last one I remember. I did some. I remember doing a Bruce Lee one years ago that I think I sold on eBay.
yeah.
That was kind of cool. And then I did a John Lennon one years ago. That's about all I can remember. I didn't really do too many before I started the paint pour stuff.
That's cool. So that early stuff there. So you said you saw it on eBay or you sold it on eBay?
Sold it on eBay. Yeah,
Eh,
I tried to do this like when I first started my IT career before we had kids, and I got super busy with that. When the second kid came, I stopped doing art altogether, probably for like maybe 8 or 9 years.
oh wow.
And then I just picked it up again like maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I tried to start a small business and do it on the side.
Did you get the itch like during that 8 or 9 years where you didn't create art? You never did anything? You just didn't paint or
Not a whole lot. Yeah, I didn't really do a whole lot of anything with art. I um I actually had a potter's wheel at one time and a
hmm,
kiln, and I never used that because I loved doing that stuff in high school. And then I took one college class of make throwing stuff on a wheel. So I had that for a long time, but we actually had to rebuild our house, and I had a 220 ran to the garage so I could have a kiln and all that to
yeah.
fire pottery. And it turns out the line wasn't strong enough, so I just sold it. I never even used
Oh
it.
man,
So I
geez.
had plans to do some of that stuff, but
Well, maybe
never
someday you can
worked
get back into
out.
that too.
I might,
And
yeah.
and you could do paintings on your pottery. Ah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
What does your wife think of all this? Does she
Um,
enjoy that you do all this? She must.
she she encourages it quite a bit. She actually is really understanding with the time I spend down in the basement painting. When I have a deadline, I there are some weeks where I'll be down there every night, for 3 or 4 hours a night trying to get something done. I try not to have those deadlines if I don't have to, but
Right.
yeah, but she's been great. I mean, the good thing about it is I try to at least break even on it. So that's one thing too about the Avett community that you guys have helped me a ton because of the stickers and patches. You guys buying that stuff, that I mean, that furnishes me, the money to keep doing this. So it encourages me to keep creating. But she's been great about just, as long as I'm not tanking our bank account by doing this stuff, she's totally cool with it. She
That's a
actually
good way to look
encouraged
at
me
it.
to, yeah, she encouraged me to start even the small business too. So
Don't tank the bank account. That's a
don't
good
tank, yeah,
put that on
don't
a
put it in
bumper
debt,
sticker or something.
right?
All right. So you mentioned the Avett community, the Avett brothers. You're obviously a fan of the Avett brothers. How did you become a fan?
How did I become a fan? So way back in, I think it was 2009, I was doing the scroll on Facebook and I ran across one of my old school friends, Jessica, and she posted "Murder in the City."
Mm,
The two guys, like the official video, the two of them just kind of sitting around playing the song, and I stopped, and I'm like, oh man, this sounds like a great song. And then you get to the line about always remember there's nothing worth sharing like the love. I can't remember now, but
you blew the line. No, that's okay.
I blew the line. But that I heard that line, I'm like, oh, this is a great song, So I,
It
like
is.
most people do, when they hear a great song, they'll just start digging,
Yep.
find that rabbit hole, and just be stuck in it for days. So,
And my God, did they have a rabbit hole that you can go down even back
oh
in
yeah, even
2009?
even back then, yep,
Yeah,
that's
it's
where I was
crazy
going with
now.
it.
When I first discovered it, it was the same thing. Like I went on YouTube and I swear it was like 2 weeks straight. I was just watching video after video. Like, my God, these guys are amazing.
Yeah,
Really is
when your
something.
family's like, "You gonna come up and eat dinner?" Or
Yeah. No, I'm
"We haven't
watching
seen you in
YouTube.
days."
Leave me alone. Yeah, I mean, it was the same reaction for me. Murder in the City is my favorite Avett song right now. Right now.
Yeah,
I mean, it changes
good
weekly, I
song.
think, but it's just such a great song. Um, Now the whole Avett brother art community thing goes hand in hand because artists like yourself do posters for all the shows. Um, and I know you haven't done one yet. And this, I was talking with Jack. Oh, by the way, Jack Pointer says hi.
Oh, Jack. Hey,
Yeah,
Jack.
he what
We're twins. We're just born like 10 years apart, I think. Born on the same day.
he called you a name, but I'm not gonna say what he called you.
Yeah, I tried. I asked Betsy if I could call him that on this, and she didn't give me permission to do that. So
You're
uh,
allowed. I mean,
keep it clean. Nah, I'll get in trouble.
David Childers was on here and he said some bad words. Nah, not really
Did
bad words.
he?
He swore a few times. It's all good.
Yeah.
But Jack says hi. But anyway, we were talking about how the guys that do the posters and stuff, and we can't believe that you haven't done one yet for all the stuff you do with the Avett stuff on your website. Um, how does it work with that? Do you know how do they decide who does each
I
show?
I'm not. I actually talked to Travis years ago. So he used to be the guy that hired, all the people that did the posters. I'm not sure if he's doing
Okay,
it more.
yeah, I don't think he is
He kind of
actually.
moved on, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I saw it one time. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago when he was still working with the Avetts and doing the poster artist hiring. He threw out just a post on Facebook asking for links to websites, like for artist websites that would be interested in doing one. So I think they probably just look at the body of work that some of the artists have, and that's how they get a good idea if they want to use
Okay.
somebody like that.
Well, your body of work is pretty impressive.
The
And
only problem is there aren't any posters, gig posters on there. So I wonder
you should start
if that
posting.
would
I know you've done gig posters. I have two of them. You did one for
you.
Jim Avett and Dan Zlotnick show a few years back. I have another one for a concert at Dan Zlotnick concert at your house
Yeah.
that you did. But they're really good, and I don't know who needs to hear it to get you doing one of those posters, but I can tell you from talking to other fans and the people, you're universally loved. Your art is by the Avett community. If you did a poster for them, it would be one of the most sought after posters they've ever had.
That's kind of
People,
you to say, man. I appreciate that.
it's true. People, you need to do one or several. Get
I'd
into the
love to
rotation.
do at least one. Yeah.
Okay, so Dolph, if you're listening, Scott, Seth, whoever's listening, get John on a in the rotation for the posters, okay? And if this works, throw me like a artist proof or something like
Sounds good, man. I can do that. I can make that
that.
happen.
But my gosh, we got to make
I
it
think
happen.
artist proofs are the ones that mess up though, and they just like put a smaller number on it.
Is that how it
I don't
works?
know. I just probably not.
Because they're like test runs, right? Is that what?
Real artists, probably. Yeah, I think so. Real artists.
Oh, real artist. I think the Dan Zlotnick Jim Avett poster that I have is an artist proof, and nothing looks like it's messed up on there. Uh, but I love that poster. That's one of my favorite posters. I told you that before. It's one of the
I
favorite
appreciate
posters
that.
I have. I sound like a crazy fan here talking because I really enjoy your work, but I know a lot of people agree
Appreciate
with
it.
me. So we got to get you doing that, get you in that rotation.
Yeah,
It seems there's a bunch of artists that they use. You think
they do. They rotate them quite a bit. Yeah.
Darren Shock does a lot of the baseball and sports ones.
Oh yeah.
Cat Lamp does a bunch of them. I can go on and on, but yeah, they're all super talented and they're awesome. But we got to get
Yeah.
Jon Crow in that.
Well, I've started one. I started one a couple years ago on my iPad, and it's maybe half done. So I honestly, Todd, I I
let's
thought
go.
about we haven't gone to shows much lately, but I thought
Yeah.
about just maybe doing a small run of one to hand out to people.
Oh my
So maybe
gosh.
that'll happen someday if I don't get a real one. It'd be
Please,
cool just to do one.
please do that. If you want to start, come to Lafayette, New York in May. I'm going to be at that show. That's the next show I'm going to. And that would be a great
Good.
one to start handing out concert
Yeah,
posters at.
sounds good.
I'm sure you'll be there. You're in what, Chicago
Close. We're in
area?
near Peoria. Yeah, we're
Okay.
about 2 hours south.
So you're a big Cubs fan, obviously. You're a
Oh
base
yeah,
you're a
Cubs fan.
baseball guy like all the rest
Yeah.
of us that talk baseball all the time, but you have some of your paintings are Cubs related, obviously going back to the 2016 World Series. What was that like for you back
I
then?
loved it, man. I loved every minute of it. Yeah. Well, the funny thing you say that, like how many months, maybe 6 months before that, I had to do a Chris Carpenter Cardinals World
Oh,
Series painting for one of my work buddies, and I'm like,
you
this
had
is
to.
gonna be
That means
hard, man.
that was a commission that you
It
had
was
to
a
do.
commission piece that
Oh
I
God.
did for one of my work buddies. Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I should charge you triples what I told him, but I didn't.
One of my buddies
But
is
that's
a
why,
artist and he's a big Mets fan, and he had to do a Yankee drawing one time for
yeah.
a
Oh
gig he
man,
was doing, and it was like it really hurt when he had to do
yeah.
that.
It's painful.
But yeah,
You gotta
go
do what
back
you
to
gotta do.
2016. Were you thinking as they win the World Series, are you thinking, man, I'm gonna do some paintings from this? Was that in your
That
mind then?
that day I had Zobrist, Baez, I had the final out, the ones I actually did, the Bryant and
Yeah.
the Rizzo. Like I had
Yeah.
all those mapped out. I'm like, I gotta do something with this. And luckily enough, another friend at work hired me to do those two, the pair of the Bryant and Rizzo, the final out
That's
ones.
cool.
So
So you would have done that anyway, though, right?
I eventually I would have. The problem is when I say that, I don't actually ever get to them like I would like to.
Yeah, it's
Someday I
hard.
would hope I would. Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
paintings can you do in a year? Like in a
So
year's time?
my goal early on, like the first year I started this a few years ago, I want to do like at least one a month, one or two a month. And then I think last year I only did four. I was doing a
Okay.
lot of patches though, and like the pins, that kind of stuff. So I think that took a lot of my time away from painting. But I think the year before that I did 10.
Oh wow,
So
that's a big difference.
yeah, this year I hope to do at least one a month. Summers get tough just because we get home later, it's lighter out later, the kids stay up later.
Sure, right.
So I don't get down to the basement as much as I would like to in the summer months. But
What's the process like for the pins and the patches and all that? Is it the same process or is it different programs you're using? How does that work?
that's all. I just use a draw program on my iPad.
Oh, okay.
That so yeah, I just draw stuff up, and you probably noticed, but a lot of the stuff I do out there, I'll make a sticker and a patch, and
Sure.
then like that'll morph into a pin with all the guys on it. So yeah, I try to do stuff that I can kind of reuse, kind of make it a little different on different things. To
Yeah, I've seen you
yeah,
mix it up, change
I just like
the
to find stuff people like, people want. So
and you picked a good. I know the Avett Brothers stuff probably is that your best selling
it is, yeah.
merchandise?
I think most of my Facebook friends are you guys,
Yeah.
just because we've gone to a ton of shows and we've met a lot of people out there. So yeah,
It's a great community, and that's the thing with
it is.
Avid fans. You know, they love the band, they love the music, but the fans, it's such a like a family. The fan base,
It
it's really
is.
crazy. Like, you make friends with these people. They travel all. They're from all over the country. They travel all over the country, and you really get to know these people, and they support each other big time.
That's for sure. Yeah,
So
we've met so many great people, and we have tons of like lifelong friends from just going to shows and meeting people. So
that must happen with other bands, but maybe not quite as much as this. I've never seen anything like this before. The support that these people have for each other.
yeah, definitely is different. I feel like with the Avets. So we went to a lot of Dave shows before we kind of got into the Avets. And then I found out that Betsy never really liked going to Dave shows. Once we found the Avets, we kind of transitioned from Dave to the Avets, and she's much happier going to Avets.
What's the fan base like on the Dave side? Is it similar?
It's
Or?
comparable. I think it's similar. Like I actually didn't go to a show for 10 years, and then I finally went to one 2 years ago. And I mean, they have all the tailgating. There are groups of people that every year the same group of people. They'll meet at Famous Dave's at Deer Creek, and they'll set up at two rows in the parking lot. And one guy plays music. He'll sing a 45-minute Dave Matthews cover set. And so yeah, I think it's the same kind of atmosphere. I think.
Yeah,
I haven't
Dave.
been in it for a long time besides those two shows in the last 2 years.
Oh man, Dave. Yeah, Dave's concerts. I've been to a couple of his shows, and I like that. It's not my. I don't know. It's not my thing. Like the jam band thing. Like they really drag some songs out like
They
20,
sure
20
do. Yeah.
minutes long. I know a lot of people probably love that about them, but I'm like, all right, let's get to the next song. I want to hear the next song.
Yeah, we can
Uh,
hear more if you play shorter songs,
yeah,
right?
exactly right. Like the
Yeah.
Avets. On my gosh, on New Year's Eve they played what 31 songs.
Did they
That
really? I
is
didn't
it.
even look at that set list.
It was
That's
like
incredible.
31 or 32 songs, something like that. Dave, you're lucky to get like 10 songs, I think, the way they drag them
Maybe
out.
20. I don't know if you can get 20 anymore. Yeah.
Oh, but all right. So the artwork. What was I just gonna ask you?
You asked about the process and the. Do you
Oh
want to know the
yeah.
process and the painting side?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, tell me about
So
it, sure.
yeah. So with those, I always do the paint pour first. So basically, I draw kind of the sketch of the image on the canvas,
Yeah.
so I know like where the image is going to be, where the person's going to be, and then I use that green frog tape. I tape it all off, like the parts I don't want to get the paint pour on,
Yeah.
and then from there I just pick out all the colors and I mix that flow agent into it, and then a little bit of oil. So I
Yeah.
have like, I don't know, anywhere between 5 and 10 cups of paint, all different colors, and you just kind of mix them. You kind of pour them into different cups to mix all the colors together, and you just dump it on there and move it around and let it run off the canvas. It's
That
super easy. Anybody could do it, Todd.
that's how you make the pins?
No, sorry, the
Oh,
paintings,
oh,
the background
paintings.
of the paintings.
I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
how did I?
Not pins.
I'm wondering how that worked. I'm like, wait a minute, that sounds doesn't sound like how you make pins that I've ever heard.
Sorry, man.
Paintings, yeah. All right, no, that's cool.
Paintings, yeah.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. How do you make the pins though? You don't make the
I
pins,
don't
right?
know. I order those. I mean, I
Right.
designed it, and then you go through like
That's what I
your
thought.
proofs and approve them and that sort of thing. Yeah, so I don't do any of that. Just
So
design.
are you in you're not in your studio right now, are you?
No, this is my office. My
Okay.
studio's in the basement.
What's your favorite thing to paint?
My favorite thing to paint.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, obviously people, right? I love painting. I love painting musicians.
Yeah.
And even back to my high school, college days, my art teacher always told me, you got to quit painting that stuff. You're never going to go anywhere in the art business because all you want to do is pop art. That's what I mean, I heard this week after week in high school. It was always kind of funny. I'm like, I don't want to paint, some random person I don't know. I want to paint,
Well,
I
right.
want to paint some of my musicians, my bandmates or members that I love that I've listened to for years. And I have no musical talent. I think we talked about that
Oh, so
before this call, but
you're not gonna play a song for us tonight like others have?
I mean, do you want me to?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Wait, you have a guitar there,
I
and you're
have a
not gonna play
guitar
something? Play
and
something.
I don't know how to play it.
Wait a second. Hold that guitar up. Is that a
I
Seth
brought
Avett?
it up here just to make a crack at this.
That's a Seth Avett Martin right there. That's
It is.
nice. Can you
I
play?
gotta. It does what?
Can you play?
No, not at all.
Oh, you can't? Oh man.
No. At one time, I had great ambitions, and I think I don't have that part of the brain, Todd.
No,
But I was gonna
well,
say I can't play music for anything. I can't sing. So my way of expressing my love for music is painting people
th-
that
that's
can sing
great.
and play music.
That's perfect. So yeah, keep doing that, and let's get those concert posters going. Even if it's not the Avett Brothers to start, we got to get you into that, doing more of
Sounds good.
those shows. Um, One thing, you picked the music for my show tonight.
I did.
This is pretty cool. I did this last week with the guys I had on, and it actually turned out pretty cool. So you picked a bunch of songs. Why don't you run down the list? Tell me the songs you picked and why you picked each song.
All right, I can do that. So first of all, it's really unfair for you to ask me to pick only three Avid songs.
Well, I know I can only play so many.
I know, I get it. But I mean, I did it super fast. I picked them as quick as I could because this is the kind of thing that I could spend hours on, just
Yeah.
trying to narrow it down to three songs. But so the first one I picked was February 20th, 2000. And the significance of that one, I bet some people might know before I even say this, but we went to the first Avetts to the beach in Mexico, and
Mhm.
they did the Scott and Seth did the singer songwriter workshop, where basically they sit on a stage and everybody gathers around and they
I
take
love
questions
those.
from the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super cool. So some of our friends we were there with, my friend Gina, I was like, if you can get that microphone, you got to ask them about that song. Like my whole hope for that trip, not only, but I was like, if they play that song, I can die a happy person.
That's not a song
So
they play very often, is it?
I think up to that point, I think they played it maybe only once or twice ever at a
Wow.
show.
Wow.
So I'm like, I had to ask, that's what I wanted to ask because they never played. I didn't know if they ever would again. So she somehow got the microphone. They were just passing a couple mics around.
Yeah.
And I thought she was going to ask it. She threw it in my lap. And me being somebody that doesn't like to stand up in front of like hundreds, thousands of people, I'm standing there talking the brothers are looking at me. I'm talking to them. And I'm like, I hope I can just complete sentences at this point.
So you got to
But
ask him about the
I
song?
spit it out. Yeah, I asked him, Seth, kind of why he wrote it, and I was just like, "Do you think you'll ever play it again, or any of those songs off that first EP?" And he talked for a couple of minutes about the song, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll play it again." And then I think it was the show that night. He came out and played it by himself
Wow.
at Avetts at the beach,
That's all because of you. All
and I was
because of
like,
you.
"He played that for me, dude."
How cool
I was
is
going
that?
nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I'm gonna try to play the version that you're talking about because it is on YouTube. I hope I can get the audio right on it to make it sound good enough to get on the air. But there is a studio version of it too. One of the versions I'll play. That song that's like a pretty girl song before pretty girl songs were a thing.
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
It's like
That's a good.
pre pretty girl song.
Definitely
So that's a great choice. So I may lead the show off with that one. We'll see how that
sounds
works
good.
out. But okay, what was song number two?
Song two. So I think I picked Tales of Coming News for song two. And honestly, I can't pinpoint why I love that song so much. It's a great song, but there's not really anything in the song that speaks to me, I don't think personally. But I think at one time I heard that Scott wrote the first part of that song. And then there was a second part that Seth started to write, but I
Yeah,
don't think he ever finished it. I don't, for some reason, that always intrigued me.
me too.
And I was always like, will he ever finish that? I mean, at this point, I don't think that's probably going to happen, but
I can tell you because I asked Tim
yeah,
Mossberger this very question
really, no
last
kidding.
year, and he told me that the second part is recorded
No kidding.
and they've never done anything with it. So
Now I want to hear it.
maybe that'll pop up on the new album that they're
Oh,
working
that'd
on.
be awesome.
Wouldn't that be
I would love
something?
that.
But I've always like that. That always gets me at the end of the song, where Scott finishes his part, and then Seth comes on and sings like two lines, and the
And then it
song
fades out.
just fades out. I'm like, why? Why did they do that?
Yeah.
And I
So
thought,
there's a
geez,
live version.
yeah. Oh, that they play
There's
the
a
whole thing,
live
right?
version where I don't think it's the whole thing, but
Oh,
Seth sings more than those couple lines on the, was it a bonus track? I think on Emotionalism.
yeah, I
He
think
sings a
so.
little
Yeah.
bit more on the live one, but I don't think it's still probably the full thing. It could be. I don't know.
I think
Interesting.
someone may have said that there's a full version out there somewhere that was at a concert, but I it may not be the full version. But Tim, I believe Tim. He told me that
Yeah, who
they
knows?
recorded the whole thing and they've never done anything with that second part. And I want to hear that. I mean,
Interesting.
that is something I definitely want to hear. All right, so cool choice for song two. What's song three?
Song three was Scott's Untitled One from his, I think it was a Cracker Farm YouTube video, if I remember right.
Yep.
So yeah, that song for some reason that speaks to me about my current work situation with trying to fake being an IT guy during the day, waking up every day, just trying to grind through that so I can get to nighttime where I can do what I love. So
Yeah,
there are
let me
certain
ask you
lines of that
this.
song.
I'm going to
Yeah,
interrupt you real quick here.
go for it.
You mentioned, to get to do what you love. Is your goal to do art full time and get rid of the IT job? Is that what you want to do?
I would love for that to happen. I don't know if I'll ever get there or not, or even I think my first thought was just, can I retire 5 years earlier if I do this, for 15 years? I would definitely switch over to art if I could at any given moment, if I could quit the day job.
I mean,
It's
that's
also funny you asked that, Todd, because about a year and a half ago, I worked on a project and I found out at some point that I had to interview for my own job, like after a go live,
oh, really?
the HR system. I actually didn't get my own job. And
What?
at that point, I thought I might be trying to do art full time.
Wow. Yeah, that's like, why? How did that happen? How would you
It
not
was
get
a
your
weird
own
thing. Yeah,
job?
it was a weird thing. I don't know.
Where they say you weren't
But
qualified, even though you've had the
I
job?
guess not. Yeah, even though I implemented the whole thing. Yeah.
That's bizarre.
So, anyways, I found a different job, so I still have to do the
Still,
IT thing during the
still,
day.
you're the most talented IT guy in the country, in the world, perhaps.
Not from an IT standpoint, but maybe
Well, yeah, I
maybe
don't
from
mean
art
from the
standpoint.
IT standpoint. All right,
Yeah, I mean, you
so
saw the problems I have getting on the call here today. So, yeah.
it wasn't that bad. I exaggerate. It was only, like you said, it was only like 2 minutes to find that mute button or whatever it was that you were trying to find. All right. Did you want to say anything else about song three, or do you want to move on to
Oh,
song
that's
four?
that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
What's song four?
So song four, I chose. You asked me to choose two non-Avett ones, right? So
Yeah.
I went with two bands that I didn't know anything about them until I saw them open for the Avets, or I knew I was going to see them. I should say open for the Avets.
Okay.
So song four, I picked Band of Horses Laredo. That's one of my favorite songs by them. And when I found out they were going to be on that first Avett at the Beach set, I was like, I got to listen to these guys. And as we did for all the bands that we hadn't really heard of or hadn't listened to much, and
Right.
they were probably my favorite band out of that first Avetts at the Beach that
Was
we
that
heard. Non
2017?
I think it
2017?
was the first one. I think it was 2017.
Okay. So they
Yeah,
they were one of the bands that opened up, and you
yeah,
listen to all their stuff now still because of that,
I
or
do. Yeah,
yeah, that's
yep.
cool. I'm actually not really familiar with them at all, so I'm gonna check it out now.
You should. I think Seth also covered "No One's Gonna Love You" like right
Okay.
before Avetts at the Beach. I think, if I remember right. So check that one out too if you haven't seen that.
Definitely will. Yeah.
That's a really great song, and Seth did a really good job on it.
I'm gonna be up all night tonight, checking out YouTube videos like normal.
Oh,
All right, and song five. What's song five?
song five. So John Prine. Can't leave John Prine out.
I knew it. We knew it. Jack
He
predicted this too, that one of your
Who
songs would be
did?
Jack Pointer.
Jack did, yeah. So I mean that guy, he's probably one of my top five favorite people ever musically, and I didn't know who he was until I think it was like 2014. I went to
Yeah.
the Roots Blues and Barbecue Festival in I think Columbia, Missouri,
Okay.
and I saw John Pryan's going to play before the Avett Brothers, so I started listening to music, and it was at first like I have never really been like a big country music fan.
Yeah.
It was borderline like, is this too country? But as I listen to more songs, I'm like, this guy's an amazing songwriter. Like,
I am exactly the same way. Like
yeah,
I never liked country music, but there's a difference between country music and authentic music.
for sure.
And
Yep,
the Avets, John Prine, Tyler Childers, people like that,
you
they
got
are
it.
authentic. And it's
Yep.
just I love it. I love everything about it.
So
Continue.
I had a hard time picking one of John's songs. So I
Okay.
picked I Have Met My Love Today because I think Seth covered that one too at one point. So
Nice. I'm
I
sure he
tried to tie
has.
it back to David as much as I could.
Very
They
cool.
covered a lot of his too that I could have chose from,
Yeah.
which is also really cool.
And you've done some John Prine paintings too, right?
Two, yep. And those, the last one I did, like the older John Prine, was one of my favorite paintings I've ever done. Just, that's how I remember him. That's how how he looked when I saw him in the two or three shows I saw him in. So
That's
those
a
were
great
both
painting.
commissions too.
Oh,
Thank you.
nice. Nice. Great paintings.
So
Great
yeah, those were
paintings.
both ones people wanted. So love doing them.
All right. If people want to check out your work, buy your stuff, tell me all your socials, your website, whatever, so people can get on and look at it.
Okay, yeah. So I'm just Jon Crow Art on Facebook and Instagram, and then my website's the same, joncrowart.com.
Nice. All right. And it's Jon, John.
Correct. Yep.
But you'll see, I'll post it on, you'll be on YouTube. You're going to be a big star now. And doing all these Avett shows. You're going to do the posters for the concerts, and all thanks to this show. No, I'm just
Sounds good, Todd. Let's do it. Should I
Oh,
should I quit my job tomorrow? Should I put my 2 weeks in?
well, you have to apply for it and then interview again to see if you can
Yeah.
keep it first. And if you can keep it this time, then you should quit, I guess. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah. Sounds
Anyway,
good.
John, man, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. The time goes by so fast on these
That's
things.
40 minutes already. How is that
Just
possible?
just about 40 minutes. Yeah.
That's
Just
crazy.
just like that. It goes by. So
Thanks, Todd.
really
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. And hey, maybe down the road you can come back on with us again. I'd love it.
I'd love to, man. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Yeah. See you,
Take
Todd.
care. Yep.
Have a good one, man.